Hello, Dapper here. And welcome back to Terraria. This is episode 5, so if you haven't seen the previous episode, or the series as a whole, go check it out so you are caught up to speed. And by the way, you caught me at a pretty bad time. I'm currently in the middle of a blood moon. Which isn't very ideal intro weather if you ask me. We do have a lot to do this episode, so sit back, relax, get yourself a nice glass of milk, and I'll catch you when this stupid blood moon has subsided. So the blood moon hasn't gone away yet, but I did get the notification that a meteorite has landed. Which is brilliant. You might be wondering why, and I'll tell you. A meteorite means we'll be able to make one of the new whips added in 1.4.5, the Star Crash. Which sounds cool enough on its own, but it gets even better. Whilst it doesn't speed up attacking like the Snapthorn does, any enemy that I attack that my summons also attack, will cause a meteor to fall and do extra damage to the target. Which in my opinion makes it a very good upgrade to the Snapthorn. There we go, the blood moon's over. About time. Now we can actually get on to playing the game rather than waiting. We'll start with getting some better armor. Whilst the Flink's fur coat and golden armor pieces have treated us nice, they won't do us any good against anything coming up, especially some of the bosses we're gonna have to fight. So we're going to be retiring them for the Obsidian Outlaw set. Which, as the name suggests, requires obsidian. Luckily our elevator did pass through a plentiful amount of obsidian. Similar to Minecraft, water and lava mixed together will make obsidian. So just removing each layer of obsidian will grant us a lot more. We'll also need this obsidian for a new material that we can make later on. That is once we've gone to hell. That's right. Actual hell. That exists in this game, and holds a plentiful amount of hellstone ore, which combined with obsidian at a new crafting station, the Hellforge, makes hellstone bars, which I will need to make a weapon that will replace my vampire frogs. Whilst the skeleton merchant is here, I might as well buy the artisan loaf, which when eaten, grants us a boost in how far away I can be from a crafting station to use it. To be specific, it will increase the range from 3 blocks to 4 blocks. Not really a decent upgrade by any means, but any upgrade is welcome, even if it's minuscule. I realized around this time that I was going to need a Hellforge in order to make the new armor, rather than it being made at a loom or at the anvil. Which was a bit bothersome, but necessary to make hellstone anyway. So I made myself a nightmare pickaxe to mine hellstone with, since you can't do it with the Reaver Shark like in the olden days, and I made my way down to hell. Basically, everything here is trying to murder you. Demons, bats, slimes, everything. Since we don't have a shadow key from the dungeon, the loot we can get from here is limited, but at least we can get hellstone. Which I got a decent amount of, or just enough to make the weapon I'm after. So once I got back to base, not only did I make my snazzy new Obsidian Outlaw set, but I also made my new summoner weapon. That weapon being the Imp Staff, marking our first ranged summon. Basically, what the imps do is they fly around enemies, and spit fireballs at them, dealing more damage than the frogs, whilst also having a chance to set them on fire, dealing even more damage. I had to make a quick stop to Gob-eating Key to reforge my Imp Staff to Fabled, a summoning weapon's best modifier, so it can be as powerful as it can be. As well as to the ocean houses to swap out my Palm Beach platform for ice blocks. This is so that 2 new weapons, or should I say, pals, are eligible to spawn here. Cativer and Fox Sparks. Preferably, we are looking for the latter, since Fox Sparks is not only a ranged attacker, shoots faster than the imps, but with its ability called Huggy Fire, it can become a makeshift flamethrower. Being the only summon weapon in the game capable of this. Only issue is, Fox Sparks is exceedingly rare. Being a 1 in 200 chance, or a 0.5% possibility of showing up at all, with the possibility that it could be a Cativer, which is weaker, as well as a melee summon. It is relatively underutilized in comparison to Fox Sparks. So once I finished my platform, I set my spawn point to the ocean, and slept for it to turn day. Because I would have some grinding ahead of me in the near future. In the meantime though, I decided that now was about time for me to get the upgrade to the snapped thorn. Which would mean I'd have to search for that meteorite that landed. We eventually found the unconscious man. This unconscious man is the tavern keep. This NPC will let us get 2 brand new weapons basically for free. But the thing is, we can't use them until we've beaten the event tied to them. The Old One's army. Which comes from another crossover. This time with Dungeon Defenders 2. I ended up buying an Eternia stand, some Eternian crystals, as well as 2 sentry summons. The Ballista and Flame Burst rods. The Ballista rod is a no-brainer for any summoner worth his whip. High damage and piercing is incredible and I don't have to explain why. And whilst the Flame Burst rod is a bit less used, it still serves its usage as an explosive, fire-wielding sentry. Eventually, I started searching the right side of the world, and I definitely had a bit more luck. As the meteor was embedded into the snow biome. Normally you'd need an obsidian skull to stand on the meteorite and not be burnt. But since I'm not going to waste an accessory slot, I decided to just build atop the meteorite and safely mine around and gather it that way. Once I gathered enough, I magic mirrored home. Made the chains I needed for the star crash. And crafted it. I knew just by looking at it that it was better than the snapped thorn. And what better way to test that assumption than an event? That's right buddy. We're doing the Old One's army. Now, there are definitely some things you are going to need in order to properly do this event. First off, even if you are a purist, i.e. someone who only uses their class's weaponry, it will be worth buying some of the weapons from the tavern keep with the free defender medals he gives you, even if it's only the ballista rod. That extra bit of damage could be the make or break of you winning this event. Also, you won't be able to summon the tavern keep exclusive sentries or willy-nilly. You're on the event's rules, not your own. You'll be limited to how many sentries you can place. Since enemies drop a limited amount of Etherean mana, you'll have to be a bit strategic on where you place your sentries, so I'd recommend having at least one platform above your main area of land for the event, mainly to place sentries on it, so they can deal with flying enemies like Etherean wyverns. In this tier of the event, which is tier 1, you won't have to worry about most of the enemies. The one that'll cause you the most trouble is definitely the Etherean wyvern. And that is for the sole reason that it isn't limited to the ground. Normally if you have a good enough defense all ground enemies get cleared by your sentries. But since the wyverns fly up and over, your sentries will commonly miss, meaning you'll have to fight them yourself. But luckily for you, wyverns don't appear until wave 4 of the event, which is just before the 5th and final wave, meaning you should have a decent defense for other enemies to single out the wyverns. But now that I've given you some decent advice, it's time to knuckle down, fight this last wave, and face the final challenge the tier 1 Old One's army has to throw at us, the mini boss, the Dark Mage. And there we go. We defeated the Old One's army. And we actually got some defender medals out of it too. Granted, in order to have enough to buy the next tier of weaponry later on, I'll have to do this event a few more times, but that can be easily done off camera. We did get some pretty nifty upgrades out of the event, the first being the war table, which gives a buff to how many sentries we can place, increasing the number from 1 to 2, the next being the squire's shield, which not only increases our sentry amount from 2 to 3, but also gives us a 10% boost to summon damage. This means I will retire the Shield of Cthulhu, which might be a bit controversial considering how good its dash is, but to me, the combination of the lightning boots and magiluminescence gives us more than enough mobility for now. Right, now for what I've hated the most, it's about time we wait for Fox Sparks to spawn, so I'm going to sleep until daytime, and I'll catch you at the ocean. This was about an hour in, and Cativer ended up spawning. I was not happy, considering how long it took for it to be the inferior weapon. I mean, I have it now at least, but still, Cativer is honestly really crap. And a few hours, yes, hours later, Fox Sparks finally spawned in. and I was ecstatic. Especially when I realized how strong it was, 31 damage without being reforged to Fabled. Which is incredible. Now there were only a few loose ends to tie up before we could tackle the next boss. So I reforged Fox Sparks for the best modifier. I fished for variegated lardfish so that I could make summoning potions, which grant 1 extra summoning slot. And I built an arena within the dungeon, which was one of the new dungeon designs they added in 1.4.5, which I'm very happy about, since they look really cool. Now all that's left to do is curse the old groundskeeper of the dungeon, and defeat his master, the guardian of the dungeon. We defeated Skeletron. One of my favorite fights in the game. Brilliant setting and fantastic design, mainly because I think skeletons are pretty cool. But anyhow, that'll be all for this episode. If you enjoyed it, and want to see more, make sure to like and subscribe. Have a good one for me, pal.